A phone rings inside a Concord, North Carolina training facility. It's 5:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. A dispatcher picks up. On the other end, a man is calm but urgent. Shortness of breath, very hot, thinks he's going to pass out. He is lying on a bathroom floor. He is coughing blood. Within 24 hours, the world will know his name. This is not a stranger. This is a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. And less than 2 weeks earlier, he was still behind the wheel, racing through it. That man was Kyle Busch. Busch built a reputation over 2 decades in NASCAR's top division that few drivers ever match. He won 63 Cup Series races, ranking 9th on the sport's all-time list. He claimed championships in 2015 and 2019. Across all 3 of NASCAR's national series, he collected 234 victories, more than any driver in history. Fans called him Rowdy. Fans called him Wild Thing. He earned both nicknames through post-race fights, feuds, and a competitive streak that never seemed to switch off. Busch's path into racing started early. Born May 2, 1985, in Las Vegas, he came from a racing family. His older brother, Kurt Busch, was already carving out his own NASCAR career, and Kyle followed the same climb: go-karts, Legends cars at the Vegas Bullring, then full-bodied late model competition before signing with team owner Jack Roush as a 16-year-old. He reached the Cup Series with a 6-race audition in 2004, then became the series' youngest winner in his 31st career start. He was in his 22nd full-time season in NASCAR's top division at the time of his death, still racing for Richard Childress Racing. That reputation was built on one unspoken rule: you race through pain. You race through illness. You do not stop. That culture is exactly what makes what happened next so difficult to accept. On May 10, at Watkins Glen, Busch radioed his crew near the end of the Cup Series race. Television broadcasts noted he had been battling a sinus cold, made worse by the G-forces and elevation changes on the road course. He asked for a doctor to give him a shot once he crossed the finish line. He finished the race. He did not withdraw. 1 week later, on May 17, Busch competed in the Truck Series race at Dover, and won it. He then finished 17th in the All-Star race that same weekend. On the surface, it looked like he had powered through whatever had been bothering him. 3 races. 3 finish lines. And the entire time, something was quietly getting worse. Now let's take a quick pause here. This channel, NASCAR Track Report, is closing in on 500 subscribers, and stories like this one are exactly why this channel exists. Real breakdowns, no filler, just facts. If you're finding this useful, hitting subscribe helps this channel keep covering NASCAR the way it deserves to be covered. Your support genuinely matters in making content like this possible. Now, back to the timeline. On Wednesday, May 20th, Busch was testing in a Chevrolet racing simulator at the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center in Concord. According to multiple people familiar with the situation, he became unresponsive during that session and was transported to a hospital in Charlotte. His team announced he had been hospitalized with a severe illness and would not compete in that weekend's Coca-Cola 600. Before that hospitalization became public, NASCAR driver Brad Keselowski had already noticed something was off. He and Busch had shared a flight recently. Busch, normally outgoing, fell asleep almost immediately. Keselowski later reflected on the deeper pressure drivers carry when they are not feeling well. "I think every driver feels that pressure. All athletes do." Keselowski said drivers know there is always someone ready to take their seat if they sit out, a fear that pushes many to race through symptoms they should not be ignoring. The 911 call made on Busch's behalf, later obtained by multiple news outlets including ABC News, CNN, NBC News, and CBS News, revealed the extent of what was happening that Wednesday afternoon. The caller told the dispatcher Busch was experiencing shortness of breath, felt overheated, and believed he might pass out. He was producing blood while coughing. The caller confirmed Busch was awake, lying on the bathroom floor, and requested that responding ambulances arrive without sirens. The call was placed at 5:30 p.m., almost exactly 24 hours before NASCAR would announce his death. On Thursday, May 21st, Kyle Busch died. He was 41 years old. The announcement came from a joint statement issued by the Busch family, Richard Childress Racing, and NASCAR, calling him a rare talent, one who comes along once in a generation. 2 days later, on Saturday, May 23rd, the Busch family released a follow-up statement with more specific detail on the cause of death. A medical evaluation concluded that severe pneumonia had progressed into sepsis, resulting in rapid and overwhelming associated complications. Sepsis is classified as a life-threatening emergency, triggered when the body's immune system overreacts to an infection and begins damaging its own tissue. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the immune system normally releases chemicals to fight pathogens like bacteria or viruses, but in sepsis that response goes into overdrive and starts attacking the body's own organs. The longer it goes untreated, the higher the mortality risk climbs, sometimes by the hour. Medical experts who did not treat Busch directly have since noted that sepsis is rarely fatal for someone his age, which is part of why the speed of his decline shocked doctors and drivers alike. Set that clinical language next to the raw detail from the 911 call the day before. A man coughing blood on a bathroom floor. A family statement, calm and composed, days later. That contrast is the story NASCAR is now sitting with. Tributes began pouring in from across the garage almost immediately. Denny Hamlin, who spent 21 years competing against Busch and years as his teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, posted on Instagram before speaking publicly. He called Busch our Kobe Bryant, a comparison meant to capture both the scale of the loss and the shock surrounding it. Speaking later on Good Morning America, Hamlin said Busch's racecraft was better than the rest, and credited him directly for elevating his own career. Richard Childress Racing made its own gesture. The team announced it would retire the number 8 car for the remainder of the season, holding it for Busch's 11-year-old son, Braxton, who has already begun racing competitively. Every car in the field for that weekend's Coca-Cola 600 carried a small black number 8 decal in tribute. Austin Hill was named to drive the number 33 car in Busch's place for that race. Other drivers spoke out as well. William Byron described Busch as an unselfish mentor who helped shape his own career. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. said racing against Busch showed exactly what made him special, adding that the sport won't be the same without you. Dale Earnhardt Jr. called him one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history while noting he was also a father, husband, brother, and son. NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell pointed out that Richard Childress Racing had now lost 2 of its most iconic drivers, Dale Earnhardt and Busch, saying the organization has been through this kind of tragedy before. Tributes extended beyond the sport itself. Vice President J.D. Vance shared a memory of meeting Busch on the campaign trail, and President Trump posted condolences for Busch's wife, Samantha, and their 2 children. Now here's the part of this story that NASCAR has not been able to fully close the book on. Keselowski's comments about pressure were not just about one driver having a bad week. They point to something structural. NASCAR runs a schedule of nearly 38 weekends a year. Drivers travel constantly, race constantly, and rarely get an off week to recover from anything short of a serious injury. Sitting out is treated as a last resort, because someone else is always ready to climb into that seat. Chase Briscoe made that pressure explicit in the days after Busch's death. He admitted he had pneumonia himself back in December and delayed seeing a doctor for weeks. He called Busch's death a wake-up call for all of us, pointing directly at a culture where drivers routinely push through symptoms rather than pull out of a race weekend. Joey Logano, only 5 years younger than Busch, said the news made him confront health issues he had been putting off, adding that drivers should hit everything head-on rather than delay. To be clear about what is not being alleged here, no official investigation has found any negligence connected to Busch's death. NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell stated there is currently no evidence linking Busch's death to the racing simulator or any training he was doing that day. The medical explanation from the family, pneumonia progressing to sepsis, is consistent with the 911 call, the hospitalization, and the timeline as reported. Nobody in the garage is accusing NASCAR, Richard Childress Racing, or Busch himself of doing anything wrong. But the timeline still raises a question nobody has fully answered. On May 10, Busch requested a doctor's attention after a race. On May 17, he was still competing and winning. On May 20, he collapsed. On May 21, he was gone. 11 days separate, a sinus cold on a broadcast headset from a 911 call on a bathroom floor. Multiple drivers who spoke publicly after Busch's death, including Keselowski and Briscoe, admitted the same thing in different words. The culture of racing through illness is something the entire garage now has to reconsider. Not because anyone did anything deliberately wrong, but because a 41-year-old, two-time champion, still competing and still winning less than 2 weeks before his death, is now gone from a condition that started as something as ordinary as a cough. Nobody is saying anyone is to blame. But somewhere between a doctor's shot at Watkins Glen and a 911 call 11 days later, a two-time champion ran out of time. And NASCAR still has not fully explained why nobody stopped the clock. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, drop your take in the comments below. Where do you land on this timeline? Share this video with another NASCAR fan who needs to see it. And if you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.